Hello, my name is Dan Martin, and I am privileged and thankful for the opportunity to be a part of this Masterclass. I serve with the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Search for Jesus in Digital Evangelism. So the question today is, how did Jesus communicate with people who came to him or who he came to? And there are many different ways he communicated with them in love, and he gave them true, honest conversation and dialogue. But he often did that through questions. Someone has said that there are over 307 questions that Jesus asked, recorded in the Gospels. I haven't counted them all, but I believe that there are many. And as you think about it just for a moment, you could probably think of several just off the top of your head. Good questions are so important because good questions get to the heart, and good questions reveal what the listener is thinking. And so I want to take a moment just to look at one question for the next 2 or 3 minutes. And that's found in Matthew chapter 16. Jesus, as he has come now toward the end of his ministry, is speaking to his disciples. And in Matthew 16, verse number 13, he says, "Now when Jesus came into the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, 'Who do people say that the Son of Man is?'" So here's the question: who do people say I am? Who are the people, who do they think I am? And they said, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. Now notice that this is a very this question doesn't pose any kind of threat. It's a third-party question. Who are they saying that I am? And the disciples can answer. They're not answering anything personal. They're just relaying information. Some say Elijah, some say Jeremiah, one of the prophets. Verse number 15, he said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Interesting, verse number 15, because he says to them. Now he's speaking directly to this group of followers, to this group that's close to him, to this group that's been traveling with him, and he says, "So who do you say that I am?" He's brought it from the general to the very specific, to very much them. And that's what questions can do. Questions make truth personal. It requires the individual to respond from themselves. And so Jesus asked them, "Who do you say that I am?" And one of the disciples' responses is recorded. Maybe others said something as well. I don't know. But Simon Peter replied, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus responds and says, "Blessed are you," and continues in this passage talking about the church and building the church, and you probably know the passage well. But questions not only make a truth personal, but they speak to the theological. Who do you say that I am? And he said, "You are the Christ." This is what I believe. It's gone from just the opinion to the beliefs. Tozer said, "What a man thinks when he thinks about God is the most important thing about him. What comes to mind when I think about God is the most important thing about me." God, my theology, my understanding of who God is. But then it not only comes from that, it goes to the spiritual. So it's personal, it's theological, and it's spiritual. Notice here, he says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And a right view of that, a proper view of God, always evokes or incites worship. It causes us to recognize who God is when we really recognize properly who he is. And so my challenge and my devotional this morning is, let's ask questions so that people would understand and recognize who God truly is. That's what we're about. It's not to convince them, it's not to change religion, but it's that so that they could see for themselves and confess for themselves who God is. One of the courses that we use is, who is Jesus? Great question. And that's what we want people to understand, that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. May God bless you.
Thank you, then, Martin, for this devotional. Thank you for sharing some words from a biblical perspective, how Jesus met people, how Jesus talked with people, and what questions can do. I want to share a little bit more about what Jesus.net is and why we developed the stepping stone strategy and why are we working with question-driven coaching. So let me share my screen. There we go. So here you see our Jesus.net dream. Imagine a world with every single person having free access to the gospel, knowing God, growing in Jesus, and sharing faith easily. And this is our dream. This is what the Jesus.net ministry network all around the world is doing. We have the same common dream, and on a local level, we work through a particular strategy. And the strategy following from this dream is what we call our stepping stones strategy. And within the stepping stone strategy, we try in each country or in each language to connect with local people. So we build websites, we create other marketing campaigns, social media campaigns, and we connect with them. That's what we call the access phase. There we connect with the searcher and we build a bridge to faith, to Jesus, to spirituality. So then the searches end up in the no phase. And in the no phase, we try to explain who God is and challenge people to take a next step in their faith. Then people end up in the grow phase, where by different tools, reading plans, online courses, online conversations, people start to grow in their faith. And we want to be in touch with them on a daily basis, so each day they can take a step closer to Jesus. At the same time, in the share phase, we want to connect with the local church. So we want to connect churches to the local church. And we want the local church to reach out to searching people online all around the world in their language or in their culture. And this is our strategy. But below this strategy, how do we talk with people? How do we communicate with people? We needed a methodology where we gave some guidelines to have meaningful online conversations. So we have developed the question-driven coaching methodology. And when you ask us what is question-driven coaching, we always say there are three things really important when you start to use question-driven coaching. The first one is listen. The second one is listen. And the third one is listen. Because if you ask questions and you really listen to what people are saying, we can come to the core of people, their struggles, to the core of their problems and the questions they are having, to the feelings they are having when we talk about God, spirituality, and the meaning of life. So ask questions, listen to what they say, and let's make kind of a hike with them. Let's just step by step connect with them, have meaningful conversations, and be present to the questions they are having. This methodology is developed around the year 2005, so about 15 years ago, but it is still relevant today. And I want to introduce to you Martin. Martin was at the beginning when we started to create this methodology, and he has trained a dozen of e-coach in the years to use question-driven coaching. And I have a few questions for him. Thank you, Martin, for joining. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. So good to see you. You have trained e-coaches in the last 15 years in the national level, but also international within the Jesus.net network. You know a lot about question-driven coaching, and we want to honor you for everything you did. And please share some of your wisdom for us. We are here in the Masterclass today, and we are open to learn. I just have a few questions I want to ask to you about question-driven coaching. I just explained in short what it is, but if you need to share the difference, the basic difference between sending information or really being present and listen to the search online, what's the difference between that?
Well, the difference is that when you are listening to others, to other people, then you put them in the center. If you only talk about your thing, about your message that you want to share, then you are in the highlights and not the other person. And when people are coming to our websites or courses or whatever, they are coming because they have a question. They are coming because they have a certain issue in their lives. And when you want to help them, you have to listen to them and you give him well, how do I say it? Give them the podium to share what a question is or what a situation is, so that you can try to help them step by step going further.
Wow, so they are more in control.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And I can imagine that people say, well, this is good. I want to develop my ministry the way that the e-coaches and we, when we are online, that we really ask questions and being available for people to listen. What's really important if you want to start using question-driven coaching in your ministry? What do we need to remember?
Well, it's been said a lot of times already, but the most important thing is listen. We as Christians are eager to tell our story, to tell about Jesus, to tell about the gospel and everything, and that's good, you know. But when you want to have a real connection with people, you have to listen. You have to find out where the connection point is to start that hike that you mentioned. And from there out, you can step by step going along with someone and help the person to look at another way to their question or their problem or their situation or whatever. And that's something you have to learn. When I look back 15 years ago, I preached, you know, and that was not the best way to help people. So I've learned that listening and ask the right questions, that's the most important thing to try to help people.
So stop preaching is what you say.
Stop preaching, yes, yes.
Wow. Is there any particular conversation you still remember from the last 15 years where question-driven coaching made the difference?
Oh, many. I had, I think, maybe thousands of conversations with all kinds of people. And it's always inspiring to hear that when you ask questions or explain something, that the other person is saying something like, okay, how do you know this? Or why do you say this? Because, and then the story comes out. I think it's the Holy Spirit. He is the one who knows the other, who knows you. So he will help you to ask the right questions. But it's inspiring to hear every time again that people are a kind of how do you say that, surprised by what you are asking or what you are telling. And one of the stories I remember is a long time ago. I had a connection with a young man, and he had all kinds of difficult things in his life, all kinds of problems, and he came with the question that he wanted to commit suicide because he didn't know it anymore, and he was finished with life. So we had a conversation a couple of times through email, ask questions, explain some things. I gave him some tips to go and try some therapy and all kinds of stuff. And then the connection stopped. So I didn't know what was the outcome of all of the conversation we had with each other. And after a couple of months, I get an email from him, and he said, "Well, I'm that guy. Do you know me?" I said, "Yeah, I recognize your name. So tell me, how are you?" I said. He said that he wanted to email me to let me know what was happened in the past months. He was going to therapy, almost finished. He was going back to school. He was full of joy for life, and that was great to hear back something of a conversation that you had with someone, and that although you most of the time you didn't you don't hear from the other people what is happening, but sometimes you get a message like this, and that's yeah, that's super.
Wow, that's a great story, really inspiring. If by the way, if you look back the last 15 years, did you notice any changes in how people behave, what they ask?
Well, the most of the changes is about the internet. 15 years ago, it was still a little bit anonymous, and that's uh, less in these days. There is more and more possible through the internet, and um, when how do you say it, when people are not that anonymous anymore on the internet today, they are still willing to tell their whole story, because they liked that the to talk with someone they don't see, they don't know, and just tell their story. And um, what surprises me every time again is that somehow they don't have someone in their own environment to talk to. If I ask that to the people, they are, yeah, they don't know anyone. And so I think that many people are lonely or alone or whatever, and they come to the internet and looking for someone who want to listen, someone who want to talk to them. And it's great that we can do that through the internet and all the means we have to do that.
Yeah. Wow, thank you for sharing some of the highlights and the principles of question-driven coaching in the last 15 years. Um, by the way, thank you also for writing the new ebook about question-driven coaching. You've spent a lot of time in totally rewriting the methodology adapted to these days we're living in right now. I will share more about it later in the masterclass, but thank you for all the effort you have put in.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Martin. And one of our partners applying question-driven coaching for over a decade is Paul Weaver. He is the partner in Turkey. He's working for BCC and he's having a flourishing internet ministry. And he is training his e-coaches for over years already in the question-driven coaching methodology. Let's listen to what he has to say today.
Hello there, Jesus.net Masterclass. I'm really excited that the question-driven coaching thing is going to be the focus of today's workshop. I think that this is one of the most important concepts that we can use for online ministry. We here in Istanbul have been partners with Jesus.net since I think at least 2008, and we've learned a ton from you guys. I want to share with you how I leverage using this question-driven coaching thing for a lot of our trainees. This is our primary website, and it's kutalktop.org. And as you can see, there's a chat module over here that we basically have people fill out their details and then start chatting with us. And we've got about 25 people right now that are registered in the talk system to do online conversations with seekers or people who come to the website. And before I start, anybody that's new, there are really two documents that I want everybody to try to look at and read, as kind of for their onboarding. And the first is this is the question driven coaching book that we translated into Turkish just a couple years ago. So I was really happy to see this happen. And yeah, this is, Peter's book is remarkable, and I think quite worth the time. And since we now have it in Turkish, I mean, I'm asking everybody to look at it. And the other one is this, just a Google Doc that we just call the short answers. So we've got a whole bunch of different, basically frequently asked questions that people ask. And so when people are chatting, I try to keep everything very short, and less than 3 sentences, and then a couple of links to different things that go back to the website, so that we can do a little bit, we can be referring to different things that have already been written, and encourage people to actually respond in that sort of way. But really the main idea, the main thing we want to try to talk with everybody about is, how do you lead somebody into a more deep, questions about Jesus, when you don't want to preach at them. You want to actually lead them through questions. And so what you guys are working on right now, I think, we need to see much more of that happen throughout all of online ministry. So God bless you guys. I hope this is super productive. Take care. Bye-bye.